Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. My name is Starrapter, and welcome to the channel. Today, we are taking a look at Star Wars Trials of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule. This is a spoiler-free review, of course, and this is a big one, guys, because this is the final High Republic book. Yeah, after 4 years of covering the High Republic, 200 years before the Phantom Menace, this is where pretty much everything ends. Now, there's a couple straggler comics that are coming out in the next month, but other than that, it's pretty much done with this book. The broad strokes will be done with this book. So, of course, I'm not diving into any secrets, anything specific. All I'm going to talk about is the synopsis as well as my thoughts overall on this book. So, basically, this book is split up into two parts. You have the Jedi that are picking the 9 of them, the best fit to go to Planet X to deliver the nameless creatures where they think that could stop the blight that's been rampaging through the galaxy without stop. Meanwhile, you have Eriadu, home planet of Tarkin, and that is being bombarded by the Nihil. That is like the last ditch effort of the Nihil to really make their own in the occlusion zone. So we have all that going on there, a huge battle. So the best way I could describe this book right off the bat for you guys is it is like The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King meets Return of the Jedi. It's that epic battle, those huge swings of character arcs that all happen in this book. This is the closest you can get to like a blockbuster Star Wars story in a book form. This is really amazing what Charles Soule has managed to do wrangling all these characters. So getting into the thing I like about this book, all the things I like, obviously, is first of all, the Force. The Force is really one of the main characters in this book. It's not just characters that are in peril from Marchion Ro and the Blight and the Nameless. The Force itself is at stake. So we actually learn a lot about the Force, the void of the Force, without the Force, with the Force, all these different entities that use the Force. It really feels like there's weight to the story because of that. I love the idea of this feeling like the Knights of the Round Table, or in Mass Effect 2, the suicide mission where these different characters, these 9 different Jedi, as we see on the cover of the book, are handpicked to go on this mission where they're not really expected to come back alive because nobody really knows about Planet X. They don't even know if this planet is going to work. So just the idea of these 9 Jedi that are wearing this armor, which is a really cool look, by the way, that are going out into the unknown, risking their lives, doing what a Jedi needs to do. And this book really hammers home the idea of what a Jedi Knight is, what a Jedi Knight should be. And that is one of the focal points of the High Republic, is what were the Jedi like at this era, the Golden Age, the height of the Jedi. We are learning all those traits and attributes in this book. Marchion Ro, we get to see so much of his character in this. We get to see perspective chapters from him. We get to peel the layers back on exactly what it is he's doing here, because that's been my biggest gripe about the High Republic. One of them is just, it feels like Marchion Ro is pretty much a one-dimensional angry character that wants to kill the galaxy. But in this book, we actually get to see, thankfully, right before the whole series ends, what exactly he's doing this for, what reason. The chapter length, and I like how this book is formatted by Charles Soule. Like, you're either going to the Nameless Planet or you're either going to Eriadu, and within those chapters, there are going to be chapter breaks where that's where the perspectives of the characters changes. So there's always something to look forward to in a logical format on what's going on. And that really does help the pacing with this book, right? As I'm reading it, I'm going, oh my gosh, I just read another 100 pages. And that's because the action, the gripping intensity of this book just causes you, page turner, as Yoda would say in The Last Jedi. You also have these interludes, which are really helpful in giving us that ground-based perspective on these characters that aren't super-powered Jedi or generals or anything like that. Like the average family, how are they being impacted by the things happening around them? And I think that does get us to be more grounded in this story. We don't get to see a lot of that in Star Wars, of like, oh, what's happening to the normal person with all this stuff is happening, right? The expert tie-in material. As somebody that has literally read every single middle grade book, every single audio drama, the young adult books, most of the comics, because they're still not all finished yet, I really loved how Charles Soule was able to kind of cherry pick, characters from each of those mediums and have them as a perspective character. I mean, juggling the characters that all these other authors, all these other architects and whatnot of the High Republic, and being able to really kind of enhance and kind of carry up with those characters. It's not easy to be able to kind of have that versatility with Charles Soule, dealing with everybody else's characters, but making it feel like it's like the original authors writing those characters in this very novel, if that makes sense. And the cool thing about this too is, hey, if you've only read the main adult novels of the High Republic, you're not going to be really lost at all. I think there's some good context added and some interpretation maybe, but like for the most part, I think that we get a little bit of exposition for these characters and like what they've been doing, where they've been, and that kind of helps add in like, oh, you don't really need to read every single comic and everything in this. I think that there's a great kind of coda in this book, and it reminds me of Return of the King when we're seeing all the characters say their goodbye and all that. We get a lot of good detail at the end of this book of, okay, you get that finality for a lot of characters, and there's that great closure where it's like, okay, this is the end of literally an era of Star Wars storytelling. But there could be more, right? There's always something more. We knew this going into this book. The authors have been teasing, like, is this really the end? For the most part, this is the end. But there's other things that could be happening that's maybe will spin off of this conflict. So I really like that. And as far as like the fate of a villain, I think Star Wars has been caught in a trap of what they do with their villains. And I'm trying to be very subtle, very, not giving anything away here. But I was very happy with the resolution of what happened with the villain in this book. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm hyped when I was able to experience that. And, including experience the roller coaster ride of emotions, tears, joy, anguish, like surprise, shock, and all. Like I went through the full gamut of emotions while reading this book. It brought me back to Game of Thrones, The Storm of Sword, the third book of that series, with not saying there's a Red Wedding event, but the same reaction I had, kind of a Red Wedding where I have to kind of throw the book across the room kind of feeling. Yeah, you get that here too. So there's a lot to experience in this book, and I just can't give it anything less than like a 9.5 out of 10. If I were to give this a score, it's hard for me to ever give anything a 10 out of 10 because that means it has to be completely revolutionary, and this book gets close to that. But I will say this is probably the strongest book next to A Rising Storm that Kevin Scott wrote in Phase 1. I really love that book. I really like this book. I love this book, actually. And it's cool to see Charles Soule ushering in a new era with Light of the Jedi, with the first full-fledged adult novel. Love that book. And we get to see him closing the book for now on this entire thing. So we have 2 High Republic adventure comics. We have a Insider short story, and we have the High Republic Marvel comic that this is the finale. Those are the 4 things left after reading this. So we are right at the tail end. It's been awesome covering this, and I'll keep talking about Star Wars: The High Republic, even though this is like the last actual review on the channel sort of thing until the comics come out. I will still talk about the High Republic. There's going to be a lot of people talking about this, and I hope that more storytellers in Lucasfilm, making the movies, making the TV shows, look at these books, see what they've done with the Star Wars mythos, and actually start to build on top of this, add some Easter eggs, do different things like that, right? That's what we want to see from this era. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about the High Republic. Did you read Trials of the Jedi? What were your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section and down below. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you, and for light and life.